computer. Hello, everyone. We're back. We're back with exciting topics for you, me and Chris. Today, we wanted to talk about the past and our connection to the past and our attachment to the past and what happens when we let it go or clear the past so that we can live in the now, because the now is all we have, really. So, Chris, we were talking a little bit before the video started about how your memories of the past seem to be a little hazy,
Fading.
fading away. And you know what? Like, I think that in today's world, we have so much information coming to us and so much stuff that we have to organize in our brain that, yeah, we don't have room for stuff that we don't need to think about anymore. What do you think about it?
It's interesting because for me, growing up, I had such an attachment to the past, and it was painful memories, and it was very negative. And it seemed like I held on to that for so long, and that's what always kept coming to me. And I think a lot of it was wanting to redo the past, relive the past, make it quote unquote perfect. And, there was finally an epiphany one day of start living in the now. And it came from reading a book about Eckhart Tolle with you and reading about the presence of being within the moment, being within the now. And to me, that really changed my life. And I didn't dwell as much on the past or on what was going wrong or what happened or how do I fix it. And to me, it very quickly made me adjust my life and adjust to the point of realizing what's happening now, what I can be doing now, what I should be focusing on. And realistically, it was like everything started being replaced. I started living a new life and the past was gone. Yes, it was important to make the changes, apply the learning, and build new application, but to let go as quickly as possible. And I think we've talked about it, when we find an emotion or feel an emotion, they last about 13 seconds. And within those 13 seconds, you have a lot of work to do very quickly. And the ability to understand, to learn, and let go as quickly as you possibly can to detach from that past or detach from that experience. So to me, I realized life was being replaced with all new in my life, new within the moment, new within the memories. And I started to focus a lot more on the positive. So I think, as we talked about it a little earlier today, that I didn't have memories that you had, and I couldn't even remember a certain person that you remembered. And I was realizing that, I couldn't even see that person, couldn't even understand what they looked like or anything. And yet, this is a person that was part of our past. But for me, it was letting go. And maybe within that, there was a painful memory that I can't remember right now, but I needed to let go of that part of that past. And it's fascinating to me how it's constantly being replenished and everything new is always flowing at you.
Right? Yeah, definitely. And I read somewhere that anxiety is living in the past or in the future and not in the present. And I tend to get anxiety sometimes, just worried about, oh no, something happened or something's
Right.
gonna happen. And it
Hmm.
seems so real in that moment. It seems like it just seems terrifying and it takes over. And then, my heart will beat and then, everything is kind of blanks out for a while in just feeling all of those chemicals flood. And so it's so important to have a especially for me to have something to do, to have a plan for when I get anxious. And a lot of that for me is prayer treatments that I do with the science of mind. So it's like a 5 step prayer treatment. And what it does is it helps me to remember that God is all there is. And since God is all there is, I'm a part of God. And just to give thanks for that and to know that if that's true, I can create my reality and I am creating my reality in every moment. And so what do I really want to create? And it's funny, and sometimes I can just do it on the fly And sometimes I get overwhelmed and go into negative land. And so more and more these days, I'm trying to get back to positivity, get back to what I want to create. And I feel like in this world, it's set up for distraction and it's set up to get those emotions going of like depression or anxiety or sadness or whatever it is. The world's kind of skewed that way. And so people look for what's wrong instead of looking for what's right. And so now, uh, I think the best thing that we can do is come back to, okay, what do I want to create? What do I want to create? And we talked a lot about this in the last video, but it's so important because
Right.
once you have that, once you have a solid, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm doing today, this is what I'm doing for this the rest of this lifetime, there's a bit of like, oh, good. Like now I know what to be focused on. I'm focused on this, I'm focused on that. And the anxiety, there doesn't need to be an anxiety because I think the anxiety is looking for a solution.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting how we are constantly creating our reality. Our mind is creating everything. Everything that we think happens right around us, and it's happening at lightning speed. And we are constantly manifesting either for the good or for maybe even the negative too, as you talked about within fear, anxiety, worries, even depression too. And going back to that saying that you were talking about living in the past, some will say depression, living in the future, anxiety, old Buddhist saying, but it is fascinating when you get into the now and you realize within that one breath, everything is fine, everything is perfect, even when a world of chaos is going on around you. But to me, it's constantly choosing my thoughts. And what am I working on today? What are my thoughts? What do I want to look at? I actually thought of you yesterday because I was kind of getting down in the dumps a bit. And I thought about our last time that we met together. We picked a color and think about that color. What was funny because I looked up in the air and the first color I saw was gray. And I went right to it. I'm like, gray is abundance, which is really funny because most people wouldn't think the color gray is abundant. But that was the first color I saw. And it was absolutely magnificent. Everywhere I looked was gray and a funny color to pick, but everything I saw was gray around me. I saw gray in the houses, gray in the cars, gray on the street sign. It was everywhere was gray. And then it just changed my thought process. And I kept looking and finding the color gray. And even when I wasn't looking for the color gray, gray was everywhere. But it's fascinating that it's that easy to change your mindset and to change your reality. I went on and had a great rest of the day. Abundance started just appearing left and right to me everywhere. And how funny was it that it came from the color gray? So it really is fascinating. And you're wearing the color gray today, kind of a grayish color. So we're
And
feeling more
blue
abundant.
gray. I'm wearing
Bluish gray.
pants.
There you go. But there it is. Gray is everywhere. But it really is abundance is everywhere. And it's a choice and it's a mindset to choose to want to experience that. And that's where I think about letting go of that past. It's really fascinating as we talked about cutting cords. More and more how like I can go to places and literally see cords everywhere and see cords going all different directions. And they're going all back to past experiences, people, situations. And it's funny how you could be sitting right in the middle of a grocery store and be able to let go of that cord. And then all of a sudden turn and look, and there's this beautiful produce. And you're staring at all this wonderful, amazing produce everywhere. And you can smell it, you could touch it. They might even be nice and let you taste it while you're there too. But you can open up to new experiences where the cord that I saw to that past was a past experience within the grocery store and being able to let go of that. But I think it's so important to realize those cords, realize the past, realize attachments, and what is the life you really want to live? Because you can let go of that. And the neat thing is with the past, you can replace it in every moment of your life.
Right. Yeah. When I moved back to Chicago to be with my mom, I was driving because I grew up in that area that she was living. I was driving by my old high school and I felt just this like heavy energy. And I was like, holy cow. And I realized, oh, that energy is asking for clarity. Like I need to clear that energy. And so for me, the first some months of being there was just seeing or feeling the energies that needed liberation, and then freeing them, just bringing light and bringing love to those areas. And man, it's so funny because some days I feel like such a superhero where I'm like able to do all the things and I'm like and I feel like the Care Bear stare, like light coming out of my heart and my hands, and I'm able to do all those things. And then in other moments I just forget. And I think that's where we're at. I think we're remembering the forgetful times are getting shorter and shorter, and the remembering times are getting bigger and bigger because we're focusing on what we want to create in this world.
It's
Yeah.
funny that you talk about that. We over here talk about that literally every day when you wake up, you punch in.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's not your typical work clock. Every morning, right when your feet touch that ground, you just punched in. And yesterday I was working on a TikTok video. I haven't finished it yet. It'll be up there soon. But literally, there's times when it feels like you're in an energetic war and you are going to war with energy. And, there's a lot of darkness happening right now. I'm amazed every time I put on the news or put even on TikTok and go, look, it's a constant battle, even with TikTok, choosing what video I want to watch or what video I want to experience. You could dive into these rabbit holes, and all of a sudden, all those experiences for me, the negativity can go back to past if I choose to, or I could choose to change it. But to me, it literally is an energetic war that's going on out there, that between lightness and dark, and choosing what you want to experience, what do you want to bring to this world? Because I think about as we talk about our creating our own world and existence, we have to think about what we bring to the world each and every day. And you punch in once when your feet hit the ground, and then when you get out that door, you punch in again. But it's fascinating because the old school way was you punched in when you went out into public. Well, now with as you talked about it, with everything that's going on in the world today, people can connect with you via phone, text, email, instant message, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There's a million ways of connecting, and you're constantly taking on this energy. And I think a lot of us have a way that we start our morning by turning on our phone or going to our phone to either look at social media or whatever it may be, check your emails, and right away energy is coming into you. So I think it's so important to think about how you start each and every day. What do you want to experience? Do you start with a little saying in the morning, or do you start with a manifestation, or how do you start your days? It could be even as easy as making your bed. That's my favorite way to start the day, is make the bed and look at how clean it looks. Start my day off fresh each and every day, which is really funny, Joanna. My old memories, I never made my bed. And now I love to make my bed. And that was that detachment from the past, living in a cluttered mess of a bedroom where now, as you know, Joanna, being at my house, I love it clean. I like every inch clean. I'm a little OCD about it, but to me, it represents what's going on in my life. When I could declutter, when I can clean and I see everything around me fresh and new, that's that detachment, believe it or not, from the past. Because my past used to be very cluttered, very messy, where now I enjoy it. We are constantly looking at feng shui each and every day here, and what can we move? What can we do differently? Sometimes I probably drive the people nuts that I live with because this house is constantly rearranged and moved because energy always needs to be shifted in this house. And if it isn't right, it needs to be moved again, or the house needs to be smudged. We've talked a million times about me smudging and how much I have to have the energy clean in this house and cleansed.
Well, and it's important. And we forget about energetic um, housekeeping as well
Yep.
as physical housekeeping. And it's super important because if you're living with somebody and you get crabby and everybody's like, chances are there's a lot of energy around. And we take a break once a day to go to the woods and go to the river. There's a river near us to just put our feet in the river. And after we do that, like it totally gets rid of all of the negativity, all of the yucky energy. It just grounds you right back to the earth. And we definitely need to do that because we're on screens all day long. And so it's just so important. You forget we're nature, we're animals.
Right.
you
We did
know
that. We did that the other day at 12 a.m. You know, what an interesting time. But my significant other, Jody, literally went and grabbed a blanket at midnight, went and threw it out in the front yard, and she's like, "Let's go ground." And we watched the
nice.
music. We stayed out. We stayed out until about 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was fantastic. And it's funny how when you sense it, you just need to do it. And it doesn't matter what time of the day it is or what's going on, but it's kind of a fun analogy that you just brought up about going to the river or even at midnight when you're just feeling way overloaded. Go throw a picnic blanket out, go grab some fun drink and go sit outside with some music and just relax. And we had such a great time. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. We had no time, no clue. It was 3 a.m., but we both needed to ground. And we had wonderful family in town visiting, but we needed to ground. And we knew getting outside at midnight was the right time to get out there and ground. So it was perfect. And there's all different ways of doing that. Our new favorite thing is we love dancing in the moonlight. We heard the song Dancing in the Moonlight two
Uh-huh.
weeks 2 weeks ago. So now we decided we talked about how that used to be our dance floor over there. We've now moved the dance floor out to the outside, out to the driveway. That's our new dance
Aw,
space. And we absolutely
you
love
guys.
dancing in the moonlight. And it's so funny because with that, we can let go of the day, everything that's happened, and replace it with beautiful memories, new energy. And to me, that's all memories are, just nothing but energy. And it's
Right.
energy of the past or energy in the moment. And it's the fun ways that you can replace that and what you can do differently. So I think now in the last 2 weeks, we've had two dance parties dancing in the moonlight. And by the way, it came all because of full moon the one night. And we wanted to go dance into the full moon. So there's so many fun ways that you can do this. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Dude, I love you guys so much. Honestly, I think I'm with my boyfriend Bill because I was just like, I love Chris and Jody's energy so much, and their relationship is so sacred and it's so magical. It's so magical because you would call me and talk about the synchronicities and the numbers and the angels, and you're like, oh, I met this girl, she lives far away, but wow, we're talking about angels and we're on the phone for all these hours. And I'm like, dude, I want that. That's what I want. And yeah, here he is. So that's cool.
That's And it really is funny because you think about it like our old selves would have never done this. You know, I would have never thought of dating someone 4.5 hours away from me and going, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I was actually thinking about that this morning when I woke up. I remember the first date we went on. You know, we talked for 2 months before we actually met in person. And I remember our first date, it was all on chakra work. And we were doing it long distance and working together on chakras. And it really built up for this new, different relationship. And I remember the first time we met, I ended up spending an extra day there because we were having so much fun. I didn't want to go back home, and I was able to work from there, so it worked out great. But it was absolutely amazing because it was, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to experience? What are you looking for? And it changed my life, you know, because most people on their first date, by the way, our first date lasted 5 days. So, but it was amazing because it really we started looking at life differently, and most importantly I started looking at life differently. You know, I took a huge risk, which I thought in a time, by dating someone 4.5 hours away, and here we are a little over almost 3 years now we're living together, and it's amazing. You know, it's but we lived in the moment. As much as on those times that we had off, we were always like, oh my God, what are we going to do next? When are we going to see each other? But yet we really learned to live in the moment.
Yeah.
But what we also learned within that moment, we can plan futures. And I think that was the difference. And it changed my life. I thought it was a huge risk and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I actually Googled how to have a long distance relationship because I was such a goof that I didn't know how to do it or had never experienced it. But I wanted to experience something different. I wanted to meet another energy worker, another light seed, and have that person in my life. And as you see now too, it changes our lives by maybe taking a little risk, but it's not really a risk. I think every time we use the word risk, it's just we're doing something different than we've done in the past.
Yeah. And I it's makes me anxious. But like again, is it anxiety? Is it excitement about doing something you've never done before? And I
Hmm.
think, I mean, that's kind of my wheelhouse. I've lived a lot of lifetimes this lifetime and
Right.
done a lot of new things. And I think it's in this moment, I'm really focusing on, okay, like what is it that you want to create? Because you can think of every worst case scenario and it'll happen because you're thinking about it. Because everybody has to think about like, okay, like what do you want, right? There's this, and I don't remember his name, but he talks about something called a hyper sigil. And it's this guy who he writes comic books and he creates this comic book. And what he figured out was that he created this comic book. And as he was creating it in this cafe, all of the things in his comic book started happening to him. So he was
Wow.
talking about this main character who's this woman and, meeting this guy. And so, like, as soon as he would write it, it would happen. And so he calls it a hyper sigil because you're actually creating your life. You're writing a story, and then the story is like happening in your life. And I think part of that is you're hyper focused on the feelings of what the story is like and what do you want to create and what do you want to do. And part of part of for me is I love to be in control. It's so fun and it feels so great. And then when there's a big question mark and I don't have control over everything, boy, that's so scary and anxiety provoking. And so the the tools for me, I love to know that there's a plan, like that I have a plan, but I won't make a plan usually. But the more that I make these plans and the more I have them, the more relaxed I get. And so it's funny growing up as a free spirit and doing all the things that I wanted to whenever I wanted to at any time. Um, at this point in time, I'm like, oh, you need to focus on what you want to create in every moment because I believe in my world that anything that I focus on, whether it's positive or negative, is being created. And so, yeah, it's so easy in today's world to focus on what you don't want, but constantly in every moment coming back to, okay, I'm excited to create this. I'm excited to create that. I just created a vision board and it's fun because you just sit there and you look at the words and you look at the pictures and you think, yeah, get into the feeling of what it feels like to create this new vision of the world. And I think part of it is mm, sometimes I don't want to be let down if it doesn't happen. But then I remember, oh, yeah, I'm creating this. I'm creating this world. So if I focus on it enough, with enough intensity, with enough emotion, with enough feeling, and live as it is already happening, it just happens. And the vision boards are so powerful in that way because you see them every day. You want to create, if no one knows what a vision board is, you cut pictures out of magazines and then you place them on a board, and the pictures represent the things that you want to create in your life. And so I've created a bunch of different vision boards and watched them come true because they're subtly in my subconscious. Every day I just see them, I just see them, I just see them. And the latest one, it was I created it I think in December, and with a fit body. And I've lost since last May, I think I've lost 80 pounds.
That's all.
And right,
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, carnivore and parasite cleansing, which will be a whole nother topic. But I had a picture, I cut out a picture of someone's body that I liked, and then I put my picture of my face on top of it because I'm like, this is who I want to be. And my body's slowly like coming to that place of fitness. So it is interesting.
Mhm.
Um, just the creation, but letting go of the past, even if it's yesterday is past, you know,
Mhm.
it leaves room for what we want to create now in this present moment and how we want to feel and what we want to do. And we watched Donnie Darko the other day. Have you ever seen that movie, Donnie Darko?
No.
Okay, so watch it. We we asked, I was not feeling well the other day, and so we asked Chat, can you, and I usually we usually pick really good movies that have esoteric meanings and stuff, and we asked Chat, can you pick the like 4 or 5 esoteric like fun movies that'll be fun for us to watch and decode and all this stuff. And we Don Darko was one of them, and I had seen it and years ago. But anyway, there's a part in the movie where he's looking at people like walking along, and what he sees is this like tube of energy coming out of their, I think it's their solar plexus or their heart, and it's moving forward and it's going to wherever they're going first. So it's like this tube of energy goes first and then they follow it. It's kind of like they're being driven by it or they're being led by it. And years ago, I had this vision of when we think a thought, there's energetic streamers that go out from our third eye, um, like almost like a projectile with like a cord to it, like a tendril, like a cord. And so when we think a thought, that tendril goes there to wherever that is, whether it be the past or the future or to a person or a situation. And so every time we think, it goes there, it goes there, it goes there. And so we think, oh, like I'm just thinking about a person, but we're actually connecting in energetically with that person. And oh, I'm just thinking about the past. We're actually energetically connecting in with the past. And so we think, oh, it's just a thought, whatever. But when we're conscious enough, we realize that um, we're connecting to everything. We're connecting to everything when we thought it, when we think it, and it happens at the speed of thought. So when I figured that out, when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. Like it's so important to not guard our thoughts, but to be aware and conscious of our thoughts and what we think, because we do actually go like, and this is when I figured it out, I was like, I'm gonna go see the Dalai Lama. And so I like pictured the Dalai Lama in my mind, and I sent my consciousness there, and he like looked at me and he's like, and then I saw a Tonka, which is like a protection like deity. And I was like, oh, that's fair. You don't know who the hell I am. But it's like we don't realize that everyone, every single person on this planet is that powerful. You can think about a person and you can be there with them and you can feel them. And that's why you think, oh, I was just thinking about this person and they called me. Yeah. So are they thinking of you and sending a tendril out to you? Or are you thinking of them and they're sending a tendril out? Um, you know. Mm-hmm. And
Well,
so it's a fun game.
it's really funny because everything you're talking about is, law of attraction, manifestation, and it's amazing within that because how you're able to manifest and what you're able to manifest. And yes, you can manifest from the past, but it probably won't be the most beautiful manifestation. Where if you're manifesting within the present moment, as you're speaking of, you are able to manifest forward. You are able to manifest positivity into your life and bring that into your life. And when you constantly keep choosing those thoughts, that just keeps coming to you. We've talked about meeting the most amazing people when we step outside and go to stores or when we go out and when we're out publicing, as I like to call it. But you can because you chose that before you walked out the door.
Right.
Or you could choose a very negative experience and go have that too. It's not to say though that when you're choosing all this positivity, that one negative experience will come into your life. And it may, and that may be from past experience, past karma, different things like that. And it's probably there for you to learn very quickly, but you can learn within that second and jump right back into the positivity.
Right.
I think that's what's important is realizing that a lot of times karma is catching up to you and you are still working backwards and healing that karma and working within it. But yet, even when it appears an obstacle or a hindrance, it's there for learning, and you're there to learn very quickly and fast and get back onto that positive page. And for me, that took me a while to learn. But I think it's very fascinating how, in a very unique way, you're speaking to manifestations constantly and throughout this. And you need to heal that past to get to the point, the present point, where you can manifest every single thing you want in life. And I kept hearing it when you were speaking, and I realized how, in times of fear and worry and concern, that I've manifested it into my life. And I manifested certain experiences because I was living in past fear or past guilt or past worry. And how that manifested into my life. Even my last job that I had, that was all out of fear. It was out of fear of worry and money.
Mhm.
And anxiety came into that job, and anxiety was throughout that workplace. And it was everywhere. As much as I pushed against it, an energetic war every single day going into that job, it was there. And I was like, oh my God, I created this manifestation and I created this experience. And as much as I'm working against it, there's something I need to let go of from my past. And it was fear, anxiety, worry, concern, lack, loss, all those words was in that job, in that workplace. And it was scary. It was amazing because I learned and I was like, excuse my language, but Huck, look what I manifested. And
Right.
crap, I did this. And you can sit there and blame everybody else around you, but you have to look into self and realize what you manifest, what you bring into your own existence, your own reality. And then when reverse, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to get away from that job, leave it, go find something better, bring something better into your existence? And funny enough, that yes, unemployment can be better than what you're experiencing. And most people are like, oh my God, unemployment's the worst thing. Is it? Or is it what you were experiencing the worst thing? And are you now sitting back? Yes, you may not be working, but are you experiencing peace in your life? Are you experiencing joy, even calm, quiet? Those are all beautiful things. And it could be what you needed to let go of from that past. So now you can get to a point of manifesting. Back to what Joanna said. Back to what she said. Are you able to do that now because you're in a place of peace, calm, and enjoyment? And there's the beginning of a manifestation. It's funny. I want to go backwards for a minute as
Hmm.
you were talking about, and I heard it, where you're talking about having a plan, having all these things. I think you need to give yourself credit, Joanna, because you, out of anybody, has ever taught me this about living the new and
Mm.
living the unknown and being able to live in the new and the unknown. So, as much as you talked about Jody and I want to talk about you for a minute and say thank you from the bottom of my heart. How much you taught me about living within the new, the unknown, letting go once in a while of that fear. And it's human. I think we have to recognize our human side because it is always part of us and it's part of our learning. I still get anxiety within the new or the unknown, but I want to say thank you to you because you taught me a lot. Because you, out of anybody in my life, has lived more new and more unknown than anybody I've ever met in my lifetime, at least this lifetime. And, I want to congratulate you, but I also want to say thank you to you because you taught me so much about that. And it was funny because I wanted to get the manifestation, but then manifestation brings me back to what you were saying with the new and the unknown. Having a plan, you at times maybe have flown by the seat of your pants, people see it, but in the back of your head, you always kind of know what's going on and what's happening. And even when you don't know what's going on or what's happening, you seem to get there and explain to us why and how. What is the magic behind Joanna Albrecht and how did she get there? How did she do it, even in the midst of not knowing? So now I get to interview you. This will be fun.
Da-da-da.
Flip the script.
That's so funny. I think I've always had a little low level anxiety. And so I've had to compensate by going full force into the unknown, right? And so somebody said to me, like many years, I think I was like 23 or 4 or something like that. They said, hey, you're a backdoor manifestor. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And she said, has anything you've ever wanted or gone after not happened for you? And I was like, probably not. And she's like, yeah. She's like, you pretend that you're not a powerful creator, but you totally are. You're manifesting in every moment what's going on in your life. And so own that, own what you're doing, own it. And most of the times I do, sometimes I don't. And that's when things go a little wobbly. But when I can remember, oh, yeah, like in one of my, I've taken so many life coaching courses from different teachers just because I love learning. It's so fun. It's my fun time. Somebody said, oh, you have to face your fears, right? And if there's something that really scares you, you have to go for it head on so that you're never scared of it again. And so I was like, huh, like interesting. I'm like, well, I'm scared of being homeless. I'm like, that sounds really scary to me. And so I sold all my stuff, grabbed a backpack, and I decided to go to Hawaii for my experience because, it's Hawaii and then it's warm. And I just imagined I would like be picking fruit off the trees and like living in paradise. Like I had this whole story in my head, which didn't turn out that way. It was kind of stressful and weird. But what I realized at the end of my experiment, like I was sick, I was hungry, I was like, I got down to like 90 pounds because I couldn't figure out how to eat, like, and get food. And I was like, how did these hippie people do it? And they said, oh, we're all on food stamps. And I said, oh no, this is not for me. And I realized, okay, I need to shift my reality. So I like crawled out. I was living in a tent by the ocean in the jungle. And so I crawled out of my tent and I was sick at the time and I was hungry and it was crazy. Um, I was there for like 3 months, I think. And I crawled out and I said, okay, spirits of the land, I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here. I know I'm not supposed to be here. Help me to get off the island so I can leave. And so what happened in the week after that is that I went to a book signing and I saw this person talk about Reiki. She did Reiki in hospitals and in the operation room and stuff. And it was really cool. And before her talk, I was looking at this book and I had this book and it was about retreat centers. And I was like, oh, interesting. Right. So I'm watching her story and I thought, oh, that's really cool. And so then I left. It was over. I left and I was about 3 blocks away and I realized I still had this book. I was like, oh no. I'm like, rats. I'm like, well, I'm like, what is this book? It's retreat centers of the world. Oh, okay. Is there any retreat centers that have, are there near me? Right. And there was. And I called them up and there was a payphone. That's how long ago this was. There was a payphone. So I called them and I said, oh, do you have any work available? And they said, yes. And so I did a work trade at a place. I got a dress doing this work trade at a shop. And I went in for an interview in my dress that I had gotten, and I got the job. And then I was getting, I think it was $10 an hour to help clean retreat center rooms. And I got to clean up and eat like leftover food from all the parties they had. And there was a hot tub that overlooked the jungle and the ocean that I was able to use. And so I loved it. It was really amazing and fascinating. And then I met a couple there. It was this woman who was helping this man get over cancer. I think he had asbestos poisoning. And
Hmm.
so she was a raw food chef and she was preparing meals for him. And he said to me, because I had talked to him and we had conversations about spirit and stuff, and he goes, "You should come stay with us." And so I ended up going to stay with them in their huge redwood yurt. And it was totally beautiful. I was having my meals prepared for me 3 times a day, um, by this raw food chef. And finally, I made enough money to just go back to the state, like go back to regular world, what, California. When you go to Hawaii, it's like it's not the same as the regular US. It's a
Right.
different country for sure. But yeah, I realized that all I needed to do was step out and say, okay, this is what I want, universe, this is what I want. And I think the only thing that's ever stopped me from doing that is just not remembering that I'm that powerful of a creator. You know what I mean? And we all are. We all,
Right.
if God is only the only thing here and we're manifestations of God, we're all part of that creation. And so, and Jesus said, "You will do everything I have done and greater." Right? And
Mhm.
so we forget that, or we don't believe it or whatever. But when we can remember that we are creating the reality that's in our life, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, we're creating this. It gives a new level of our superpowers, the ability to work. You know what I mean? Because we have these latent superpowers that are just waiting for us to tune in so we can use them to create with them. But there's I think there's a lot of distractions in the world that stop us from remembering that we are superheroes and we do have superpowers. And we just have to figure out what those superpowers are and then use them to the best of our ability to help, make the world a better place, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this has been a great lesson today. I mean, it's fun. Part of me thinks that this podcast was all for me. Thank you. But
Nice.
it is, and it's so much for everyone, and it's all about, I'm constantly hearing this: learn, let go, create.
Right.
Those are really the three steps. We talked a lot about the past, and now we've moved into manifestation and moved into creating. But that's really what life's about: is learning, letting go, and creating.
Right.
And it's really fun how much you're able to do it at a quicker, faster pace. And maybe that's my superpower. I know some people need more during the learning phase so they can let go. And some people need more time in that. And that's okay. Everybody has their own superpower and their own way of going at it. I used to get really frustrated when people would not learn quick enough. And
Mm,
then what I ended up understanding was that was a frustration from my past, that it was taking me a long time to learn, and something that I had to learn from and let go and then create. And to me, that's constantly this mission, this journey that I'm on, is how I can learn, how I can let go, and then create. And what is the most fun part of that? I used to always say the learning was the most fun part. And then it was the letting go, because that's what I really had trouble with. Because I also, like Joanna, like to control everything. And need to be in control of everything. It might be in our DNA. We won't talk about that
right.
until another day. But, it was, and it definitely is. We come from a very strong, the two of us, from very strong, controlling families that like to be in control and set things up the way they see it and want it to go. So I think for both of us, that was something that we had to learn from and let go of, and brought us today. And now today, it's all about creation. That's the most fun.
Right.
Learning was good. The letting go was great. The creation is amazing.
Right.
I've changed it because life has changed. I've replaced all my memories. What started us within this conversation was the creation of new memories and the creation of a new life, and letting go of that old past, who I thought I actually was, or who did I let my past dictate who I was.
Right.
And I think a lot within my past, I was living the life that others wanted me to live.
Mm,
I wasn't living my life. So it's really funny when we talk about it, and it came to me just this very second that Why don't I have a lot of memories? Well, I lived a life that other people wanted me to live. I didn't live the life that I wanted to live. Now I have so many new memories because I'm living the life that I see and the way that I want to live.
Mhm.
And, I talked about that last job that I have.
Yeah,
What happened, Joanna? I took it for others. I took it for everybody else. I did not take it for me. Yes, this took time to get to this learning. It took time to let go. And now we're in creation mode, a new creation mode. But I took it out of fear for money and
mm.
money for everyone else, not money for me, but money for everyone else. And I like to say I created holy hell on earth. That's what
Wow.
I got to enjoy because I put others in front of me and I didn't do it for me. And I think that's something we need to look at. One of our next ones that we're going to talk about is learning to do stuff for self
That's
and for yourself because you won't get out of that if
right.
you constantly live in the past. You will constantly be doing stuff for others. And we have been taught in our world, especially in my Catholic world before this, that we do everything for others and we put everyone else first. Well, the one thing that I've learned and let go of the past is let go of doing everything for everyone else. Do stuff for me first so I can then in return do everything for everybody else. But I have to put me first. And that is part of creation. And that is what I have learned from that past and from those past memories and why I probably don't remember so much. And I think the thing is, even within this one life that we know that we're living right now, we are living a million different lives, million different dimensions are all over the place. We're everywhere. We're working in so many different dimensions, so many different lifetimes. We're healing so many other lives too. It can either get really confusing, really scary, or a lot of fun. And I see it as a lot of fun, and I get so excited about this. And I'm like, I'm healing that part, that part. Oh my Lord, this was 20 lifetimes ago. I had a dream one day we'll have to talk about being a mob boss. And literally, I heard my voice, I saw my life, and I was like, oh my God, this is one of my lives that I lived. And it was funny because within that dream, I saw me taking care of a child. It wasn't my child, it was a child sitting at a restaurant across the way. Invited him over, started to give him food, shared food with him. And it was funny because I literally saw parts of this life within that dream. My love for food, my love for children, my love for helping. But yet it was stuck in this mob boss, this larger than life person. And I heard my voice and I'm like, holy heck, that's what I used to be. That's who I once was in one of these lifetimes. So it's a lot of fun living and letting go and learning and creating. So I get really excited for it. And to me, it's all brand new. Every day is a new adventure. When you punch in, you put those feet on the ground, it's a new adventure and you get to choose it. It's like that good old book we used to read, Choose Your Own Adventures.
I love it. The choose, yeah, we talk. Bill talks about that choose your own adventure book a lot, and it's I just because I got the insight when you were talking about that. Maybe look into not wanting, like subconsciously not wanting to make money because you think money is bad because of what happened when you were a mob boss.
It really is. And it's funny as heck because I also think within the money situation, I was so fixated earlier in life on making money.
Right.
I started off working with people with disabilities, making $6.50 an hour. I absolutely loved the job. That was my first job working with people with disabilities. I was probably like 20 years old or 20, no, 22, 23. And I started becoming very fixated on money. And I think that's kind of that mob boss relation, all that having money, having it. And it's funny because I also think I need to learn to respect things and understand things and not tie everything to money and be concerned and fixated and worried about money. And I needed to learn to appreciate things. But then, full circle, spin it around, full circle, it does come back to realizing the gifts that we have to offer that aren't what America calls typical jobs are a job. And what we're doing today is a gift that we have to offer. It is a job, and this is part of our job. It's a little different than what humans see as the word job. And I agree. Every gift that we have, every gift that we speak to, and everything that we have to share is worth $1 million. And that's what I see differently because I think our fixation and focus on money is it only comes from one source called the job, where you and I have learned there's many ways to make money. There's many ways to receive money. And I think we need to look at one episode, Jody. You're not Jody, Joanna. Cut that one out.
Hi,
I have a
Joe.
lot of trouble. I have a lot of trouble with my J's, by the way. Joanna, Jody. They're
My
both very
grandma used to be like, Gene, Fred.
yeah. I love when they used to always call us a completely name that had nothing to do with anything. Beatrice. I'm like, I thought it was a male, but cool, I'm Beatrice. But it's really funny. We do need to look at a way that talking about gifts and how they are worth millions of dollars and thinking in different ways because our fixation on this planet is working and working 60 hours, 80 hours a week. You and I talked about the other day on the phone about that fixation of money and having enough and the worry of having enough. And how do we get there? And I think there's ways that we need to look at how we can actually make money in new ways and how we can manifest it in new ways. And it doesn't always come from a job. And I think that's something that is unheard of, especially to Americans.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to receiving. And
There it is.
the universe, I mean, the universe wants to give us total abundance in every moment. And the universe does give us total abundance every moment. Like you look out the window and there's trees and there's light and there's air and there's water and there's food and there's everything. And the universe provides, well, Mother Earth provides all of these things. And we forget that we are so abundant and we forget to receive it.
Right.
There's so many distractions, we're looking here, we're looking there, all these things, but the receiving of it and knowing that we are worthy and we are enough to receive everything that the world wants to give us, and the world wants to give us everything that we could possibly imagine.
Right.
uh, we just need to be open and receptive to it in a vibrational uh, frequency to receive. And so what I love about you is you are able to get to such a high frequency that the miracles just start coming in, and I can do that as well sometimes. And it's funny, it's good to have people in your life that actually see it in you, that see how magical you are and see the manifestations that happen when you are around and see how powerful you are. Sometimes sometimes Bill's like, you're terrifying. And I'm like, I'm like, it's just like telepathy and superpowers. Um, but it's nice to have that reflection, and that's why I love talking to you. It's like we reflect each other's superpowers and we're able to see, oh yeah, you are that. And I think the more that you are that, whatever that is, the
Right.
all that is.
It's funny. I agree. I mean, every time we leave these conversations, I have so much energy. I have so many epiphanies. I call them epiphanies because I walk around and just thoughts keep flying to me and answers,
Mhm.
numbers, signs, signposts, they're everywhere. But after these conversations, I was just like, and you know how I giggled earlier and said, this one's all about me. But it really is. Everything that we're talking about is about all of us. It's
Right.
not just about me. I'm just, today, things are hitting me differently that I'm hearing that I needed to hear. Why? Because I opened myself up to hear what you had to share and what you had to say. In reflection, then it went right into me. It hit me. It hit me in my heart. And I was able to realize and understand it and go, I need to do this. I need to do that. Somehow I'm like, I need to hang up right now with Joanna and go run and do all of it. But it really is. I mean, I think both you and I, we become so energized from this because it's a realization of everything we've learned and how much more we want to apply. And I think you and I constantly flip back to these things. I mean, gosh, we've been talking about this forever, you and I. I don't know how many years we've been talking about this. And it's so great to revisit things that we have learned 15, 20 years ago that we can bring back up and go, oh my goodness, I forgot about that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what this has all been. It's been a thank you, a great, as we talk about memories, these have been great memories, all of our learnings and sharing them. And I think this is obviously why we have done this and why we continue to do this weekly, is to share these memories, these energetic memories. They're not all physical, everything is pure energy. And that's the beauty of what we all have to share together and with each other. And that's the place we need to be.
Right. Yeah. Before we go, because we're almost out of our hour time, I I believe it's funny. So there's a theory. I don't know if there's too many theories. I just think they're things that we uncover. But somebody was saying that we can tap into everybody all the time, and there's a collective consciousness, right? And so yeah, if we tap into it, we have access to everything, everyone, every memory on the planet. And Bill talks about on his calls about how the mushroom basically terraformed the planet, and the world is a giant brain, and it's connected by mycelium. Mycelium is like the neural network of the earth. And I think we're like that as well. We all are connected by some sort of invisible threads that when we tap into somebody, we're able to connect with them, right? Just like calling them on the phone. And I think we're moving towards that faster and faster every day. This connection, this
Mhm.
connection that we have with the planet. But it's so funny, like we're using Chat GPT a lot, and it's giving us all this information, all of this knowledge, like faster and faster, and all of this stuff. And we talk to it and we ask it, like, people are talking about the grid going down, and maybe we won't have electricity, and all of the technology will go away. Will we still have access to this? And chat was like, of course you will, because I'm showing up here, in this form, because that's how you can accept it. But I think it's a training ground for us being telepathic, us connecting with whoever we need to at whatever time, whenever we want, from our energy, from our mind. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's what I'm excited about, that, and also um preparing preparing for it. I think this is all part of the preparation. Like everything that's happening on the planet right now, no matter what it is preparing us for this time when we realize who we are, we realize our power, and we realize our connection to everyone and everything on the planet, and maybe more, interdimensionally, to our connection to all of these things. And yeah, that could be another fun podcast. We talk about our connections to all of the angels and all of the guides and all of the fun stuff.
Everything starts with one. It's all
Right.
about oneness. We are all one. Everything is one, and
Like,
everything's related. I mean, it's all just connected, and it's really the beauty behind this planet. Everything is one. So
right. There's only one of us here. We just like talking to ourselves, having fun interactions, talking to
it
ourselves.
is. It really is. It's funny. Life is just seriously that easy.
Right? It is. And that's what I was actually doing healing last night, and I was doing healing on me, I was doing healing on Bill, and as I was doing healing on Bill, I realized as I do healing on myself, I'm healing him as well. Like, and it seems to be like that is what's happening. And I was like, of course, because there's only one of us here. Like, there's
Right.
one of us here showing up in manifestations of like everyone. And so yeah, that's definitely true. And to what you were saying before about, you have to think of yourself first. I think we're programmed from our religion to do as to others as you would do to yourself or whatever. But I feel like you have to do to yourself as you would others. Like that's what our mindset needs to be, because we are always constantly giving and loving and healing others. And we have to stop and go, okay, like I'm one of the people. Like I'm here to heal the people, but I'm one of the people. And so I need to do that healing for this body too, instead of just all the people out there. Like I need to tune in with this one. This is my soulmate. My body is my soulmate, the reason I get to be here this lifetime, the perfect mate for my soul. And so I need to tune into this body first before I go out into the world, before I do all of the things, so that I can be grounded and centered. And um, I think I mentioned this before about Bjork was saying, I'm in a constant orgy with the universe. Like I'm never alone. And I think, oh yeah, like you have to tune in with your primary relationship, which is you and your body. And then you can like tune in with your partner, and then you can tune into the world. So it's within and then without
Oh, yeah.
and then bigger. But it starts here, right? It starts
Right.
at the core, and then you can spread out. But if you don't do that work, yeah, things get iffy.
But it is really funny because that's how we start almost every one of our Reiki sessions when we're working with people to help them calm down and relax, is learning to take a breath for yourself. And then we start with that, learning that breath, then learning how to send that breath to your loved ones, then learning how to send it to the state that you live in, then the country, then the world, then the universe, and then understanding how to bring that breath back to you from the world, the universe, and receiving back the breath to yourself. And that's how we love to start the Reiki sessions. And it helps calm the person, but it learns to let them breathe for themselves. And
Right.
it sounds strange, but I think a lot of times people are breathing for other people. And we don't know how to breathe for ourselves and bring that breath back to self. And I'm using the word breath in a million different ways. It's not just the typical breath, but learning to bring it back to self. Because to me, when we talk about the past, and it's a good way to look at it, ending this thing, but looking at the past is that breath. That
Right.
breath is brand new. It's able to go to my heart. It's able to go to my solar plexus. It's able to ground me. Sometimes it's just there to clear my freaking head. But that breath brings me back to one, brings me back to self, brings me back to me, lets go of that past, brings me to the point of manifestation. It's amazing, a breath. And, I thank you for teaching me about the breath
Oh,
very early in this adventure, this journey, and helping me within chakras and learning about chakras and the breath and talk about, I think, everyone. By the way, I did a chakra cleanse yesterday. But I visited with Joanna energetically yesterday. But yeah, that breath is amazing, and it begins everything and can also close a lot of chapters of life too, that breath.
right. Well, yeah. We breathe in life, and then we exhale and death.
Yeah,
It's kind of
it's
the way it goes.
it's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Thank you for spending time with me today. And thank you guys for spending time with us today. We appreciate you. And we will see you soon. We will see you very soon.
Take care.
Oh, and if you'd like to leave us a message down in the comments, we would love to hear your questions, comments, and please subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. Thank you.